All right, I am live with the MMA six-round post-fight show for UFC Fight Night, Machida vs. Romero. I have no co-host tonight. Apologize to all those tuning in, expecting to see Kid Nate, Tom Grant, Victor Rodriguez, Connor Rubush, anybody other than me, because I'm all you got. So, not much I can do about that. Nate's back out of town. I don't know what he's doing. He'll be back next week, I'm sure. But for now, it's just me. Just got done watching Machida versus Romero fight night card for the UFC. First of all, disclaimer: we got to have our normal disclaimer. If you're coming here to watch the video of the fight, there is no sixth round in MMA. Don't be a dumbass. You should know better by now. And for everybody else, give us a like, because everybody who comes here looking for free fight videos on YouTube is going to hate us. That's just the way it goes. So, first of all, I gotta just get this off my chest before I can jump in and talk about what was a really awesome fight night card. Man, Romero, I was so excited for his post fight speech. He started talking in English, and I was like, "Oh, that's so great!" And then he just kind of sunk that whole thing by himself. Not the most shining moment that Romero could use for the biggest win and the biggest stage of his career. Uh, but you know what? I don't expect fighters to be good people. I don't expect them to be normal, well balanced people who are like really in tune with things. So I'm gonna look past that and focus on his incredible fight still because there's just no. I don't know what can you do about it in from a sports standpoint. You're not going to be like, well, I'm not going to watch Yoel Romero fight next time. Of course you are. Yoel Romero is insane, and he is must-watch fight material. So that's just the thing we have to live with as fight fans who are a little less crazy on the religion. If you're crazy on the religion, then shit, Yoel Romero is the fighter for you. He is speaking for you. He is a man of your people. So anyway, that was an insanely good performance from Yoel Romero. That was exactly what I mean, that was better than I expected. I thought that Romero would just kind of come out and do what he did to close the fight from the beginning, just throw Machida down, beat him up, end the fight, and that would be really impressive on its own. But the fact that he actually stood and took a lot of time really kind of pieced Machida up for a while. They traded shots. Yoel Romero ate a few, Machida ate a few, but that he really was comfortable in there trading with Machida at range and figuring out his game and being a comfortable athlete both at range and in the pocket. I mean, that makes Romero so much more dangerous, and this fight is such a bigger step forward for him than even if he like just come out and done what Luke Rockhold did. And that's not to take away from Luke Rockhold's win, but that like that tells you that Luke Rockhold is stronger and a better grappler than Lyoto Machida. This tells me that Yoel Romero is stronger and more powerful and as good a strike, not maybe as good a pure striker, but a striker capable of competing with somebody like Lyoto Machida, and that's huge. Can't say enough good things about that win for Romero. Right below that, we had a great fight. Lorenz Larkin, Santiago Ponzinibbio. Larkin looks like all the good parts of Larkin's game seem to be improving and improving with his drop in weight division too. He's faster than ever. His footwork has improved. His striking variety has improved. His output has improved. With his footwork improvements, his defense has improved a little, but he's still kind of the same guy who's going to go in and take a punch to give a punch. And Ponzinibbio just wasn't fast enough or technical enough to capitalize on that. And even then, he came close. It was a great win for Larkin. For those now championing Larkin as a future contender in the division, I still don't feel like I see that. I think Larkin's showing himself that he can be the kind of great action fighter that welterweight can use. Like, we can use more guys who are going to go out there and even if they don't ever compete for a title shot, win 2 out of every 3 in really exciting performances. And I feel like that's more the kind of fighter that Larkin is at welterweight. And um, it was a great performance over Ponzinibbio, who I had thought was looking a lot better lately. So I don't want to discount this or write this off as like Larkin just beat some bum and didn't look better at all. He looks better. It's just, he's still kind of a defensive liability. So balanced, I don't know. I should be, I feel like I should be higher on that fight and higher on him because of it, because it was a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Antonio Carlos Jr., on the other hand, looked like a total beast. He looked like every part of his game had improved. He's still a stiff striker. Um, but I think that because his Patrick Cummins is really a very good, powerful, athletic wrestler, how good Antonio Carlos Jr.'s pressure game is really got overlooked by a lot of people. He's the kind of guy that will come out throwing aggressively, stay on guys, and he's not so bad defensively and he's huge that he's just getting cracked in return and getting hurt. Like, he's able to charge in on guys, get positions against the fence, shoot for takedowns, power through big takedowns, and just really stay on guys and wear them down. And at his size advantage at middleweight, where he's just a monster, he could win a lot of fights there, I think. I mean, I don't know. At the same time, like, that also, at the same time, we're talking about a kind of a busted prospect in Eddie Gordon, somebody who was expected to be a future player in the middleweight division, somebody who is going to rise and get to the top 15 one day, be a name fighter, and that is just not happening. The parts of his game are developing too slow. I mean, even in this fight where he came in better shape, he wasn't gassing as hard. He was doing the camp things right, probably. He's still, he's not a good enough he's not a high output enough striker to hurt people consistently, and he's not a good enough wrestler to keep from getting taken down or to take guys down consistently enough, even when they're bigger and stronger. I mean, your really technical wrestlers in the division get takedowns and outwork guys that are bigger and stronger than them. So at that point, like, things are just not clicking well enough for Gordon to compete with the tools he has. This may have been a bad luck, like a bad run of luck where he faced somebody, he improved and then faced somebody better than the guy who beat him last time out. But it's still 0-3 off a tough win, and that is a tough season champion win, and that's just not a good look. Below him, Thiago Santos got a highlight reel fantastic KO over Steve Bossi. Santos looks like he's really, he was. I kind of pegged him as a sloppy, aggressive striker when he came into the UFC, and it just seems like time is improving his technical side, and then the aggression is still there, and that's just hyper valuable. Being tough and aggressive, and then becoming more technical is making him a much more dangerous fighter. And I felt like this would be the kind of fight where the first big shot could end it early, and Santos landed the first big shot. But I do think that it shows, along with his run of first round finishes, it just shows that he is continuing to be and improving as a very dangerous fighter. Before that, Hakan Diaz outworked Levan Makashvili to a split decision win. Not a notable fight. I mean, it's exactly the kind of fight that it should have been. Makashvili's a really raw prospect. Hakan Diaz is a long-time experienced fighter and a really good athlete at a big camp. And Makashvili took him to a split. He won the last round. He finished strong. He looked great late. But it was, on short notice, it's just an incredibly tough fight to expect Makashvili to win. I don't know that there's, on the other side, Diaz didn't show off. He didn't really show that he's gonna like move up the rankings and dominate anybody at featherweight. He's a strong, well-rounded fighter, but he's also not a finisher, and he's just not dangerous in the UFC. He's good, but I don't know. It's not really I don't know, not a fight to take a lot away from. Both guys performed about as well as you would have hoped. Going back down to the bottom of the prelims, Serwan Kakai beat Danny Martinez. That's kind of a fight between the lowest level of competition that the UFC hosts. Kakai looked better and more well-rounded. Martinez, who came into the UFC as a wrestle boxer, really can't wrestle at the UFC level at all. So that's probably the end of his UFC run, and he hasn't looked really competitive at all. So I'm not terribly sad to see him go if it is. Tony Sims knocked out Steve Montgomery. I'm glad this is a debut fight for both guys and that they'll probably get another chance because I like Montgomery, but this was just a terrible matchup for him. He's a really tall kind of beanpole fighter who starts slow. He gets hit a lot early in fights, and Sims is a great boxer with good power in his hands who can really crack. And it was just kind of always pegged up as what would probably be a first round KO loss for Montgomery. So I look forward to the UFC kind of giving him a bounce back fight and another opportunity to show that he has something more to offer. Because that's a really rough way to introduce yourself to the UFC. Sims, on the other hand, he looked fantastic. It's like with KJ Noons losing to Alex Oliveira, a couple fights ago, a month ago. It feels like Sims is kind of stepping right into that same role, the KJ Noons role of somebody who is a really good, solid, technical pocket boxer who could cause guys a lot of trouble, even if, and he actually will wrestle offensively a bit more than Noons ever did. And that could be enough to push him a little higher along, but still, it's like that same kind of. Even if he's never a way more developed fighter, he's so good at using his hands that he can be a really dangerous action fighter for the UFC. So that was a really exciting debut for him. Great win. Montgomery's solid, but it was also kind of a fight set up for Montgomery to get knocked out early. Leandro Silva ground out a decision over Luis Gonzalez. That was an ugly fight. Silva's just a big, hulking, grinding fighter. And Silva looks huge at welterweight, and the dude fights at lightweight. So, I mean, that's just, I don't know. Both guys are kind of boring grinders, and it ended up being an ugly fight. And frankly, it's just best forgotten. Alex Oliveira beat Joe Merritt. Both guys, I think, I feel weird about this because Alex Oliveira, I've been excited about him since before he got to the UFC, just because he's so aggressive and he has generally been like a wild action fighter that has some power and some accuracy enough to make good use of being wild and aggressive. But I'm kind of worried that him taking all these fights on short notice is A, not letting him develop at all, and B, it's kind of exposing some more parts of his game. Like, he was competitive against Gilbert Burns. He beat KJ Noons. That was a big win. But this win over Joe Merritt was just kind of like, it showed that you had two really athletic guys that were really raw and need a lot of work on their skills. It was kind of a pump the brakes moment on Oliveira. And for those, I saw some people saying that Merritt was going to come in and get the win and really shock everybody. For them, it was probably a pump the brakes moment on Merritt, who's really only faced one legit fighter on his way to the UFC. Otherwise, was just kind of crushing cans and explode. So, it was kind of the wake up call for Merritt that even against another really raw fighter, he doesn't have the tools to win fights in the UFC. But it was a great win not a great win, but it was a consistent win for Oliveira, development win. But it's not, I don't know, it's not the kind of fight that's going to get anybody excited about. Somebody that a win over KJ Noons, I think, got a lot of people excited about. So I don't know, it's not a. It was a fun fight, but it's just not a fight it was an ugly fight. It's not a fight that puts a lot of shine on anybody, which is too bad. And that was kind of the whole card. I mean, at the end of the day, with a main event and co-main event like that, you can't walk away unhappy from this card at all. And even the Gordon Carlos Jr. fight, I thought that fight was a lot of fun. And the Thiago Santos head kick, the commercials killed the pacing, really badly. The undercard was just a slog. If you go back, I mean, Steve Sims Montgomery, you got a really quick KO. Then you had a grinding Kai Martinez fight, a grinding Silva Gonzalez fight, a funnish but still grinding Oliveira Merritt fight, and then a grinding Diaz Makashvili fight to start the main card. All with lots of commercial breaks that I think killed a lot of momentum. But after that, Santos Bossi, Gordon Carlos Jr., Larkin Ponzinibbio, Machida Romero were all hot fire. So I'm happy about the card in general. It was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of new development out of guys. Larkin looked better. Carlos Jr. looked better. Romero looked better. Santos looked better. That's all good stuff to see. So those are all my thoughts on it. Once again, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to MMANation.com for more Bloody Elbow video content. You can follow me on Twitter at DZaneSimon and read my work over on Bloody Elbow. We'll have lots more video content for you. Knuckle Up coming up, more vivisections, more Care Don't Care, more Sixth Round, more Prospectus, more Heavy Hands, more of all the stuff we make. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening.